So we left off with Robert Hohenberger being sentenced to San Quentin prison in January of 1971. That's important because, and I've noticed I keep saying it's important all the time. Before, I remember on the History Channel, my coworkers were always getting on me because I would say this is huge. I must like repeating certain phrases during case reviews. I try to refrain from saying this is important so much. No, I won't. If it's important, I'm going to say it's important, even if it's 1,000 times. With that being said, it's important that Robert Hohenberger in January 1971 is sentenced to San Quentin's prison for a term of 6 months, I think, to life. Um, the reason that is important is because he is, we are, as society, being protected from the likes of a Robert Hohenberger. I stopped short of saying the monster, Robert Hohenberger. Some would certainly classify him as a monster, as they do all killers in general, specifically serial killers. Uh, Certainly victims' family members. And I certainly cannot blame them for saying that. In some aspects, that is certainly the case and it's true. However, the older that I've gotten in life, then the more wisdom I think that we get as we grow older, we can sometimes see both sides of the coin. And I pride myself on that. Some people, they can't. They're just one way. That's the way it is. But I can see both sides. Just like I said in the initial video with um, Linda Hohenberger, which is Robert's sister, who was attending Riverside College in 1966 and apparently had a pretty good relationship with her brother because eventually she helps him out and gets involved with his crime spree in a way, and I'll get into her involvement a little later as we progress in Hohenberger's timeline. But right now, everything is fine because he's locked away and we are protected from the monster Robert Hohenberger. And I know his sister doesn't feel that way, and his family and friends. And I get that. It's a different side. Okay. This monster side, I am sure, is not seen by his family and friends, but it's an inner demon within him that has him doing the things that he does. He probably doesn't understand why he is doing these things. And it's very hard unless you talk to a serial killer to understand their mind frame and how it goes. You can listen to him. Listen to BTK's confession. You listen to Ted Bundy try to explain why, he decapitated the girls and took their heads to his home. And we as a society sometimes can't understand that. We can't wrap our brains around it. But if you study serial killers or study murderers in general and just human nature, you start to be able to understand certain things. And I understand that Robert Hohenberger, to me, there's two sides of him. There's one that is a monster, okay? And we should be protected from that monster, however that is. But there's another side, a family side, a friend side, that I wish he could have stayed on that course. So he wouldn't have hurt so many people. Not just victims, family members that are hurt, but also his own family. They also have to live with the guilt, the shame, his children, which I'm going to bring up a little bit in this episode. They have to go through life, knowing that was their father. And do they carry that gene that makes him who he was, which is a serial predator? I feel just as bad for them as I do the victims' family members. And that's just being totally honest. When you look at both sides of the coin, I would never excuse anything Robert Hohenberger did to cause the pain in his family and these victims' family members. But I also understand there's two sides of a coin. And I like to look at both of those sides. And that is why it was important for me to get this out, to get people who know the other side of Robert Hohenberger, the good side. Because obviously everything that is going to be portrayed about a serial murderer is going to be bad. They are going to, everything in the newspapers, in the press is going to make him look bad. And he was. Make no mistake about it. But I promise you there was more than likely, and I don't know this firsthand, and that's why I'm reaching out. But I am betting there are others out there who saw the good Robert Hohenberger, who could have made something with his life. But unfortunately, he went down this road. And that's why we're here today. So, and that long-winded introduction is over. I now want to focus on him at San Quentin Prison, January 1971, where he is serving his time until April 13th. Yes, 1974, which was a Saturday. So Hohenberger has been locked up for 3 years, and he is working at a minimum security work site within San Quentin, and he just walks away. No force, no nothing. He just decides, today's the day, I'm out of here. Now, I would love to know more about this. Was this planned? Was there drawings done? Did he talk to other inmates saying he was doing it? I am going to suspect that he didn't. Because I'm starting to learn something about Robert Hohenberger that I'm going to talk about in this episode. Because of the way he kidnaps people, and we're going to get into that today too, at least one couple that he kidnaps. I believe, and I didn't read this in his psychological report, I'm sorry, but I think this should have been in there because I'm not a psychologist. But I've come to learn that I believe right now as we stand, Robert Hohenberger is impulsive. Okay? I think he sees things and he acts on them. He cannot refrain. He sees an opportunity, goes, doesn't think it out with his above average intelligence. And I'll get into why I feel that way. Because on April 13th, 1974, after 3 years in San Quentin, he walks away. And what does he do? Well, I don't know what he does from that day, the 13th, until the 14th, that morning, which is about 24 hours. I don't know where he went. I don't know what he did. I don't know if law enforcement know. I would love to know that. I know what Ted Bundy did when he escaped from the courthouse, and he pretty much turned himself back in because he couldn't survive out there in the woods by himself. But Hohenberger did, and he found himself on Mount Tamnapolis. Mount Tam for short. For simpletons like me, I refer to it as Mount Tam because it's a lot more easier to pronounce. Where there have been a lot of bodies. Pam Lamson was found there. If you guys haven't watched my video on Pam Lamson, please do. Joe Naso killed her, placed her there. He had also placed another girl there that I'm still trying to figure out who it is. I have a photograph of her, I think, but I don't have a name to the face. You can also watch that video as well. But he is on Mount Tam, and he abducts a married couple, newlyweds, with a knife. And he forces them into their car with the male in the back seat and the female in the front seat. So I want to stop right there. It's these small details that always drive me crazy, and I want to know why. And one of the things that I've learned not just growing up, but as a law enforcement investigating criminal cases, I remember young in my patrol career, they would give me all the burglaries. Usually, like if a burglary happens, a patrol officer will show up, he'll take the initial report, then that will get forwarded back to the detective division, and then they work it. My second year on shift, my lieutenant who was Lieutenant Glenn Ardrey, a real great guy that I respected a lot. He knew that I loved investigations, and he must have thought that I was pretty good at them because he had stopped sending our shift's burglaries back to the detectives, and he would give them to me as a patrol officer. And he would say, hey, go figure this out. And sometimes I was able to, sometimes I was not, but I was always humble and grateful that he did that because he knew I liked to work them, and I would get results for him. And one of the very first burglaries that I went to, I remember standing in the doorway because I couldn't figure out the egress of the offender. And I remember standing at the doorway looking around thinking, what would I do? Where would I go? Now that right there is the inexperienced investigator. Because now, 20 years later, I've learned that you can't do that. Because why? You answer it. Because you don't know, you don't have the mind frame of a criminal. How many burglaries have you done? Now, if you answered that and said quite a few, well then, yes, you could stand there and say, what would I have done? But me, who's never committed a burglary, and I stand there and I look around, my mind and how it processes information and impulses is different than a criminal's. So just because I would go out this window because it is closer to the street, maybe a criminal would think different. Well, I would not do that because there's a street light there and somebody could see me going out. So I would find another, way to get out of the house. So I don't do that anymore. Okay. And you shouldn't either as an investigator. Don't think, hey, what would I do? All that being said, that was what my mind started to go to when I learned about the placement of the victims in the car. I thought, well, I would put the man up front because he's the bigger threat. Would you do the same? Put the woman in the back? So I have my eyes on the guy who can hurt me, who can derail my mission. I don't know what Hohenberger's mission is at this point. All I know is he escaped and he's trying to get somewhere. He has to get a vehicle and he kidnaps this couple. And he places the woman in the back and the man up front. He ties them up. He abducts them with a knife. Where did he get that knife? Okay. I don't know. Was it something that he had already? Was it a shank from the prison and he just walked out with it? Or did he steal it and that's how he came upon. I don't know. I would like to know those things. The placement, obviously, of the victims is intriguing to me. But what is more intriguing to me is that he kidnapped a couple. Think about that. If your mission is to get from California, let's say, to New York, far away as possible because you just escaped, what's the first thing you're going to do? Yes, more than likely you're going to steal a car, right? Maybe he tried to do that and he was unsuccessful. Nobody left their keys in the car, whatever it is. I don't know. And we're getting back to impulsive here. But why a couple? Here you have April. Let's say he is on Mount Tam. He hid out there all night. Now he needs to go. Why not wait for a single individual near the parking lot? Surprise them, the element of surprise, put a knife to their back and say, get in and go. Not only just a single person, why not a single female? You're telling me in April, nice weather, that there is not going to be more opportunities with lesser opposition on Mount Tam. See what I mean about impulsive now? To me, I think, okay, I got to go. I can't wait. I can't be selective. My brain is saying, act now. First couple I see, I'm kidnapping him. Why kidnap him? Okay, you can't wait around for a single person to kidnap. I'm going with the couple, a man and a woman, which is not the first time or not the last time he's going to do this. Why not just approach them with the knife and get their car keys? You don't have the trouble. You don't have the aggravation, the anxiety, all the things that come with kidnapping. The people that can see, all those things. Wouldn't you think that it takes a lot less time to put a knife to somebody's back and take their keys? Instead, you're forcing them into a car, which you could have witnesses now seeing this. You have them struggling. You have to control two people. And you have to drive your way out of there. It's very risky. And I don't see the benefit in it. I don't know what he is doing. The only thing that I fall back on is, one, he's impulsive. And he has to react. And I think we're going to see that again when he kidnaps another male-female couple. Or there's something about kidnapping that gets him off. And that maybe he had different plans for this couple. Because after he ties them, he drives out of Mount Tam. He is taking them on a joyride. He's going somewhere. And I don't know if he knows where he's going. But he's just driving. He stops to fill up for gas. They're begging for their lives, this and that. He's feeling her up in the front seat. And maybe that's why he put her in the front seat. Maybe he has no intentions of letting them live or letting them go. But he gets out to get gas. He walks around the side of a building for some reason. I don't know if it's to relieve himself, but he leaves them alone. They're able to shout and scream and show their tied hands to passerbys, people at the gas station. It alerts people. Police come, and he's caught. He tries to run away through a field, and they catch him. I think it was 2 hours later. He fled on foot to a nearby field and was apprehended approximately 2 hours later. Hohenberger said that prison pressure had caught up to him, and he longed to see his children. He said his wife had moved her boyfriend into the family home on a permanent basis, and he knew he would never get back together with his wife. Is that an excuse? Is he telling the truth? I believe he's probably telling the truth. That couple probably has no idea how lucky they are. But had they not alerted people, I think, of everything that I've read about Hohenberger, that newlywed couple would have been, as far as we know, his first murder victims. Why else kidnap them? Certainly could have kidnapped them to sexually assault them. Again, I don't know. I don't know if he has homosexual tendencies. I'm starting to question that. Or, I mean, because it just doesn't make sense that you kidnap a couple. People read those headlines and they don't go any further. He's a sick, deranged individual. He kidnapped a couple and to escape prison. But there's more in depth there. There's a reason he's doing that. And is it because he's impulsive? Or is it because he had other plans to sexually assault both? If he had plans of just sexually assaulting one, why not just take one? You know what I mean? This stuff drives me absolutely crazy because my brain just keeps trying to figure it out. And we don't know. I would love to talk to that couple. I would love to know what Hohenberger said during that drive. Did he say he was going to rape both of you? Did he say I was going to let you go? Because his past so far tells us that he would let them go. Right? He would sexually assault one of them, more than likely, the girl, as far as we know. But he wouldn't murder them. However, he just got out of San Quentin by escape. Do you think he's going to, number one, want to go back? Two, be put in a position where somebody could recognize him again, which they did to get him into San Quentin to begin with. It's a fascinating case study. So that is where we're at with Hohenberger. In October 21st, 1974, he pled guilty to escape without force and kidnapping. He is going to be in prison. Remember now, he has raped 3 girls. He's kidnapped 5 individuals now. And he's escaped. This is all by October of 1974, folks. In August of 1977, he's released on parole from San Quentin prison. What the hell is wrong with our justice system? Reading that to you makes me almost want to throw up, because I know the carnage that he's about to go on. Oh, because someone, somewhere, decided, you know what? He's kidnapped and raped, 5 individuals by now that we know of. He's pled guilty, so it ain't like there's a question whether he's done it or not. We caught him kidnapping this couple. He's escaped from prison. Yeah, let's trust him in society. We think he's got it figured out. At age 34, 33, whatever he is at that time now. He's figured out life. He doesn't have those urges to sexually assault innocent people anymore. Sometimes these people that are in control of our justice system need slapped around. I hope the people that decided that Robert Hohenberger deserved to be released from San Quentin prison are still alive, and they live with the decisions that they made. And I would like to talk to them. Why? Tell me why. And if they say, well, he completed all of his required courses, he's shown remorse, then I'm going to say, well, you are stupid then and shouldn't be in that position. Because of course he's going to finish all the courses. Of course he's going to show remorse. He wants out. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about digging a little deeper and realize that this guy's a sexual predator? And no matter what you do, no matter how long that you have him locked up, he will never lose that urge that he has to sexually dominate somebody. Again, I'm all about giving people second chances, but not sexual predators, because they can't control it. It's not their fault. You know what I mean? If you dig real deep, it's not their fault because they can't control it. So the only person that can control it is the people in the justice system by keeping him away from society. All right. So now things are really going to escalate in the life of Robert Hohenberger, the serial killer that you've never heard of. Because he is getting paroled, meaning he is free to do what he wants. As you will see, he's supposed to be on probation. Probation must be a freaking joke back then. And maybe it still is today, because he can do whatever he wants. Yeah, I report in. Yep, I'm doing good. Yep. Boy, you want me to piss in a cup? All right, here, I'm not doing drugs. Can you piss in a cup and them have a test to determine whether you're still a sexual predator? No! Because that's what he was. And he's about to show it. And again, we are only getting a glimpse, because these are the ones he got caught for. It doesn't take him long. He's released in October 1977. August of 77. By the end of the year's out, he's still going to have more victims. He just got out. And he goes right back to the same thing that he enjoys doing, that he can't control. He can suppress it for a little bit, but it's going to come up. It's going to bubble up to the surface, and he's going to explode. Then he's going to go to work the next day, not have a care in the world. Going to go have a cup of coffee with his landlord. She says he's the nicest guy in the world. because they don't see the other side of Robert Hohenberger. And we're about to. So that's it. We went from him being sentenced for rape and kidnapping in 1971 in San Quentin to him escaping, him being resentenced back into San Quentin, to now he's paroled from San Quentin in 1977. So in 6 years, all of this is happening, just in a small 6-year period. He's paroled, and he's about to let loose his, I would say that his mission, his wrath on society. And remember, he just went to college. Yeah, by college, I mean San Quentin prison. He just got educated in there of what to do and what not to do so you don't come back here. And he's going to play it out, folks. So stay tuned. Our next episode, we're going to get into what he does after he's paroled and the crimes that he does in California. And then he's going to flee California and start his criminal uprising in another state. And there might be crimes in between. Then we're going to get into me talking a lot to Cindy Canella. And she is going to fill everybody in on the crimes that he committed in Louisiana, where her brother, Mark, was a victim. In previous videos, I said Gordon, and it's Gordon is part of his name as well. But his friends referred to him as Mark, and that I got the permission from Cindy to say Mark instead of Gordon, so that's what I'll do. Mark becomes a victim, and she's going to not only explain the crimes with him being the victim, and Bridget Sands and the other 3 girls in that area during his condensed murder spree. She's also going to talk about how it impacted her and that community. I'm getting a lot of good, not feedback, emails from people who say, hey, I knew this, I knew that. Keep them coming. I like them. KenMains.com. You can go there and fill out a contact form and reach out to me, and I'd like to speak to you. And again, not just the bad about Hohenberger. Tell me the goods, the good stuff. Again, I would love to hear from his sister or his kids or his ex-wife or girlfriends, because there's a lot of puzzle pieces that have to come together before I can make a full assessment of Robert Hohenberger. And did he commit the Sherry Jo Bates murder? Did he commit this murder where the car was he stole a car and the girl ended up dead? All these things. I can't make an assessment of that until I have the full picture of who Robert Carl Hohenberger really is, more than what the headlines say. So that's where we're at. Remember, he's just been released from San Quentin prison, and we'll pick up in the next episode from there. Thanks for watching. Mains out. All right, so after I finished talking about Hohenberger's escape from San Quentin and his kidnapping of the couple, I was left unsatisfied, meaning I wanted to know more, as I had spoke about the positioning and how did he get the knives. Well, guess what? I got the answers. So I wanted to include that in here for you guys, because I'm sure you were wondering just as much as I was. So when I got done, I said, you know what? I got to do some more research, and I'm not finding enough. There was a couple that was kidnapped by a guy from San Quentin who escaped. There's got to be more out there on it. And instead of doing a regular name search and stuff, I just started going into newspapers and looking from the day that he escaped, because I knew he got caught the next day, and going through it that way. And I found Hohenberger's name was sometimes misspelled, and that's why, it doesn't show up on search and all this. But I found a treasure trove of information. So, this is what happened. He kidnapped the couple on Mount Tam. He had 2 knives. He obtained these knives because he broke into a home and stole them. He had one secreted in his shoe, and he had used the other one to put it to Victoria Dubois's throat after they had passed him on the Mount Tam trail, nodded to him. He came up, he followed him, stuck it to her throat. They then sat there and waited because there was too many cars that were going by to walk them down there and tie them up and stuff. I believe that it still shows that he's impulsive, but he is using that above average intelligence to not get caught. He had stated to them, remember I said I wanted to know what they talked about? Well, here we go. He stated he was hired to kill a man, and he was going to go do that. He also, which I find very fascinating, he claimed to have killed 17 people and never been caught. Now, is this just the ramblings of somebody who's trying to make his victims comply? 17 is a very unique number. Didn't say 5, didn't say 10, didn't say 20 or 25. Round number 17. Could he be telling the truth? He did say that if they complied, he was going to let them go. Could that also be the truth? Because he had let the others go. It doesn't say anything about the positioning of why he put the man in the back and the girl up front, but she does explain in this article about how he kept feeling her breasts. I am sure that she was going to be sexually assaulted. Again, this couple, Richard and Victoria Dubois, their smiles in these pictures because they got away. I bet when they found out who Hohenberger was after his atrocities in Louisiana, they better have gone to church and prayed and said, whew. Gas station attendants, seen here with the Dubois car. They chased him off. Heroes. The Dubois themselves, very smart, outwitted him. They locked the doors when he got out to pay. I find it interesting that the first time they stopped for gas, he paid with his own money, $5. But then the second time that they stopped, he used $3 of their money. I don't know why I find that interesting. I guess because he had $5 on him. He gave up because he was cold and hungry. He didn't really give up. He was hitchhiking, and an undercover cop picked him up. That was out on for looking for him. He said he was cold and hungry, just like Bundy said. So these people do not know how to survive out in the wild. Again, just such a treasure trove of information. And the station attendants, when Hohenberger got out to pay for the gas, they locked the doors so he couldn't get back in the car. Began screaming, and Hohenberger's response to the attendants seeing this screaming was, "Oh, don't worry about them. They're my crazy relatives." And then they said, "Hey, look, I'm tied up." Hohenberger took a couple steps back and then darted. The gas station attendants gave chase, but they were not able to catch him. And eventually at 1 a.m, he was hitchhiking, and that's when he was caught. So he talked a lot about killing. At least that's what the police or the newspapers are reporting. Killed 17 people before and I haven't got caught. I'm on my way to kill somebody. They hired me to do that. He had stopped to look for a friend. I'd like to know who that friend was. He couldn't find him, and then he continued on with the couple. But again, it's a fascinating insight into Hohenberger's criminal mind. Again, I just go back to why he kidnapped 2 people. He said that, according to the Du Boises, he had said, "Give me the keys to your car." Remember I had said that earlier about why didn't he just ask them for their keys and go? He did. So that was great to know. But yet he still, even though he had the keys, he wanted to take them hostage and kidnap them. And I don't know why. Is it because he figured, hey, if I'm going to have a shootout with police, all this stuff, I have hostages? I don't think it was all that. I don't think it was that far, that planned ahead. I mean, he gave up rather easily. He ran, but they caught him rather easily. Or did he have more sinister, nefarious intent with that couple? I believe it was that. And again, he had 2 knives. That's what he was able to get. I had speculated maybe he had brought a shank out of the prison when he escaped. Find out he went over a fence at 9 o'clock at night to escape. So apparently he was living and not just working in this minimal, low-risk portion of San Quentin prison. But he couldn't get a gun. Couldn't steal a gun quick enough. He had to use a knife. So it's a weapon of opportunity. Although he didn't use it to murder, he did use it to abduct. So I'm going to leave some of these newspaper clippings up where it talks about what he said, what he did, because it gives a more insightful view of Robert Hohenberger. And that was the goal for me as an investigator before I started putting the puzzle pieces together, to be able to explain to the victims' families why you have to know more about Hohenberger. And this gives an insightful view into the most insightful that I found in newspaper articles thus far. So I'll leave them up here for a little bit and then you can watch them. And again, until next time, Mains out.